Okay, Semich Shiur. Let's say we're holding Seif Ches. Seif Ches is really a hemshech of before. So we'll do it. A sechet dog l'tzirai, someone squeezes out a dog of fish that's tzirai to the sauce that's in the fish.
Yeah.
Dinek a sechet kvasha meshlakis mehem. The same din of kvasha meshlakis, he's squeezing it out of the water, which is much more lenient than Zeif V'Anavim, because the water came in afterwards. It's not part of the fruit. Says the Magen Avraham over here, Rav Mashkehu El Oichel B'chein Shlakis, cooked vegetables is also, therefore it is mutter. A full haki says the Magen Avraham, it's aser. Why? Behind the kibbutz shehayishem mashka Allah b'kaidim, since it had a shem mashka beforehand. So if it had a shem mashka beforehand, so when he's squeezing it out, it's a mashka that's coming out, even though it's part of the food now. But since originally it was mayim, it's like shlokis.
But isn't the mayim part of the body itself?
No, it came in afterwards. Tziroi is a sear. So when you cook the fish, when you cook the fish in it,
yes.
It came into it. So now that has a shem mashka even beforehand. If you look in the Mishnah Berurah, he speaks to that before it. The dag of tziroi v'atzalaymar shesachet dag l'hoytzit tzir shetzarech loy umayli b'tzir shenivla boy mimashke de'alma. Tzir that came in from a different mashka into the fish. The kachadoymer keseiches shlokis l'meimov de'osir. But with tzir hayetze megufoi, the tzir that comes out of the fish itself, doymer l'seichet shar peireis the meimov of the mutter, because it never got a shame mashka. Like we spoke out.
It's exactly the same.
For the summer, that anything that the whole it's a schita is when it's the same mashka, when it's called a liquid, a mashka. If it's not called a mashka, there's no, it's a schita. So if it's part of the fish from before you're cooking it, from creation, or when you kill the fish, so then it's not called an mashka, it's called an oichel, it's called a food. But if you're cooking the fish in water and then water comes into the fish, so that water has a shem mashka already beforehand, and therefore it's also to squeeze it out because it ain't got a mashka from a food.
Isn't tziro means the blood of the fish or something like that?
No. Tziro is the sauce. Okay, Seif test. Ashalik v'aborod, emeraskin oisam. If you have snow and borrowed is hail, emeraskin oisam, you know, crush it up. The hainu, the shabon l'chaticha is dakas, k'deshi zuvu meimov. In order to break it up, that the water should come out of it. Why is that also? Because that is called noilad. You're making something, you're creating the water from the ice or from the snow. Now, we spoke about before already. This is an isser of noilad. You're not allowed to create something. We don't find here, we'll see in the whole Seif, in the next couple of Seifim, we won't find anywhere an isser of that something that happened on Shabbos. The water is usher because it was created on Shabbos. The isser is noilad. You can't go ahead and make it. But let's say it happens by itself. That's a whole different machlokes. If the water,
it's like ice coming from the fruits,
ice
dripping.
Yeah. So ice that melted is a whole different shayla. If you're allowed to use the water or not, if it's noilad, if the water itself is considered noilad. As Kamer Rayas will see that there's no isser of the water that melted. The isser is for you to go ahead and do it. That's called noilad. You are creating something. Yeah. But the creation of the water from the ice, we don't find anywhere in halacha that it's asr. So you're not allowed to crush the snow or the ice in order to make water, because that's called noilad. But you're allowed to put it into a glass of wine, and it ends up melting into it, because then you're basically not doing anything. Putting it into a glass with wine inside, you're not being moiled. The same thing if you put it in the sun, or Keneged a Medura next to a fire, V'nifsharu, V'tarim, it's mutter, because you didn't do it. You didn't crush it with your hands. You just put it in a warm place and then it melted by itself. So right away you see over here that V'nifsharu mutarim. Mutarim pashtus means it's mutter to do it and it's mutter to use it. So you see right away you're allowed to use the water that melts from the ice. Says the Magen Avram here. Noisin who you're allowed to put it into a cup. Mashman do rasik b'yadayim aser. You're allowed to put it into a cup and the ice will melt in the cup of water. Are you allowed to crush it with your hands in the cup of water? Is mashmi you're not allowed to. Ramban v'Aran v'Rambam v'Magen Mishnah Kasu v'Shem V'Tosefta ta'afil l'rasik b'yadayim v'toich ha'kois shori. The tam iser shema yischet peiris ha'oimdim l'mashkin v'kivin shenes'ara b'mayim l'gazru. So here you have a heter of the other Rishonim, the Ramban, the Rambam, that they hold you're allowed to crush it as long as while you're crushing it right away it goes into the liquid. Why? Because then there's no problem of a mashram shazavu, because the juice, the water that's coming out of the ice, never stood by itself. So therefore, the Ramban and the Ram hold it's mutter. The Mechaber is mashmer, it's aser. Hinicham, we'll see this heter comes up a lot. We'll see soon. Hinicham bechami, put it in the sun. L'fi mashakosov Ramah b'Semich Shiur Seif Yudvav. Gam hacha aser mishum noel elam kenu mu'ur b'mayim. We had them with the pashtida in Semich Shiur Ches. You're not allowed to take pashtida. You're not allowed to take something that has in it shuman, that has in it fats. You're not allowed to take it and put it in the oven in a hot place because it makes it melt. It makes the shuman become liquefied.
It transforms it.
Yeah, it makes it into liquid. They said that's why you can't take any chicken that has in it gravy that congealed. You're not allowed to put it in a warm place that makes it liquefied. So if you hold that it's also the same thing over here, you wouldn't be allowed to take the ice and the ice cubes and the snow and put it next to a warm place and make it into a liquid for the same issue we had over there.
Even a table is a warm place compared to your freezer.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's called taking it.
That's completely meila.
Yeah, that's called meila. It has to be putting it into a hot place. Not usual.
Right.
Yeah, not usual.
No issue whatsoever taking ice from your freezer and putting it on the table for people to take.
Right. Correct. No problem.
Put water in first.
No problem. No. Take the ice out.
We said you can take the frozen orange juice and leave it on the table.
Yeah. Anything.
Right.
Anything frozen is taken off. Yeah. Anything frozen is taken off.
So this heter from the Magen Avram, when you're crushing the ice into the cup, does it has to be mashke in the cup already?
Yeah, 100%.
So you couldn't do it into an empty cup?
No, 100% not. It has to be is water already in the cup.
Okay.
And not just that. It doesn't say like crush it into the cup.
Oh, no?
They like crush it in the cup.
Oh, in the
Water.
cup.
It doesn't say like crush it into a cup.
Okay.
It doesn't say that. He says we'll see soon. It's an interesting question. But it doesn't say you like crush it into a cup. He says you like crush it in a cup, right? No, you're right. Sorry, it says litoich kois. Sorry, you're right. Litoich kois. You're right. It says into a kois of water. Yeah, but it has to be water there beforehand. It has to be water there beforehand. I thought he meant crushing it inside. No, but he said, you're right. He says litoich kois into a kois. That means you're crushing it outside and it's going straight into a liquid. Yeah.
So you can't add the liquid afterwards?
You can't create the liquid into an empty cup. Crushing into an empty cup. So now, that goes, the first few drops will be a problem. After that, there's already liquid in the cup. But the first few drops are a problem.
Where this comes up is if you have a big block of ice that got, you have your ice cubes that got stuck together in the freezer, and you wanted to serve them, and you want to break them up.
So we'll see soon. You're allowed to break them up if you're doing it just to separate them. If you're doing it to get the water out, you're not allowed to. If you're doing it to separate them, even though water is going to come out, there we will not geyser. Now we'll see soon. So that's the next Seif. Right, Seif Yud. Mutter the Shabbat kerche de little mayim mitachta. We're allowed to break the ice in order to get to the water that's under it. And even though you're going to create some water from it, it doesn't make a difference because the breaking it is in order to get to the water under it. And the Magen Avraham says over here, so there's two issues here. One issue is breaking the ice to get to the water because you're creating some liquid, and the other issue is you're breaking something, you're destroying something. It's ice. Says the Magen Avraham, it's not a problem. It's not worse than breaking a chavius to get to the food that's inside the chavius. But says the Baruch Lichtenstein, if it's attached to the ground and you're breaking the ice, that's already mechubal karka. Mechubal karka is worse. So as long as you're not doing it for the liquid, it's definitely mutter. You have to be careful not to wash your hands in water that has in it ice or hail. You're not allowed to push it between your hands. You shouldn't break it. You shouldn't squeeze it in order to make rub it. You shouldn't crush it. So says the Magen Avraham right away over here. Says the Magen Avraham according to the Rambam, you're allowed to crush it into water. Here also, if you have it in water, you're allowed to crush it into the water. Okay, Yud Beis. You have to be careful not to rub your hands in salt. Why? The same thing. This is all these are problems of noilad. Going ahead and rubbing salt in your hands, you're making the salt, you're dissolving the salt, it's a problem of noilad. So all these cases are probably now that take something, be a dayim, and change its form from a solid to a liquid.
Yeah.
That's all the halachas.
So, let me understand. The Rebbe said before that we are choshesh for another or not choshesh for another. From the Ramah.
What do you mean choshesh for another? Explain the question.
This idea that something is created, that we now have moila. We have a new entity.
The water.
Right? So yeah, it said, because you didn't do it, if it happens on its own, we are not worried about the entity of moila.
So using the water. Using the water.
Using, right?
Using the water, yeah. But now make it.
You can't create it.
Right.
Because if it happens on its own, there's no issue of moila.
Correct.
Right. So when the Ramah talks about pashtida, and he comes out against the mechaber, right? He says, really, we should be worried about it. He does say that the problem is because of moilid.
Yeah, but not because you can't use the liquid. You're not allowed to do it because you are creating it. The problem is moilid. You're not allowed to create the liquid.
So it's an interesting. So it knows that moilid is something that if you create it, it's a problem. But if it happens on its own, then there's no
right. The problem is, like the Mara says before, Shem Yischet Peiris. You're not allowed to do it because Shashi may squeeze out the Peiris. But it's not the issue of Noilid, the famous Noilid, that it's a new creation. Like the condensation on a window, let's say, that's Noilid.
But if you look at the Ramah on Shinut Ches, that seems what it is.
It's also to do it. It's also to use it.
Yeah.
If somebody else
also to do it.
If somebody else did it, can you use it?
Even if you do it, you could use it.
If you did it.
If it's called Shabbos. But it's not out the Noilid Shabbos. Maybe that's Nedim Ma'aseh Shabbos. Someone else did it for himself, and you want to use it on a Chanam. It's where the din of Ma'aseh Shabbos. No, we don't find anywhere that the Isser is to use the outcome. The Isser is to do it. Using the outcome is a different child.
So what would be the Isser by the Pashtita? Where the Ramah says...
To do it.
I understand, but why? Why?
No, maybe not. Because Nedim Ma'aseh Shabbos. So it's no different than cooking.
But he says moilid.
The Isser is the moilid.
You're making a distinction between the Isser of Nen and Ma'aseh Shabbos
and
the
Noilid.
Isser of using Noilid.
Correct. It's a big difference. Noilid would mean that you're not allowed, this thing is a new creation, you're not allowed to use nothing to do with the fact that you made it. Noilid means a new creation. If there's condensation on a window, right, you didn't do it, it's an Isser of Noilad. You're not allowed to use a new creation. Ice that melts or shumen that becomes a liquid, we don't see anywhere that there's an Isser Noilad. We find that you're not allowed to do it. But we don't find, and if you did it, you were over and you did it, you have to go to Hilchis Ma'aser Shabbos, if you're allowed to use it or not. Ma'aser Shabbos, you're not allowed to use something you did on Shabbos. But as the issue of the outcome from it, that it's noilad, and now it's a new thing, that we don't find anywhere.
So is that, what about the salt? Is that...
Also.
The same thing.
So it's the same thing. You take salt and you dissolve it.
That's not considered mold.
No, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that
because it's
moilad.
Because it's mold.
But the outcome of it is not an issue of noilad, that you can't use something that was created. You don't find that.
So, Rabbi, can we go to...
So you can use the
can you
melon
go to
after you rubbed it and
Senior
begin
test where the
dissolve.
Mishnah Berurah in Kupei.
You just can't make it.
Make it.
Sikot and Kupei.
If it's already done, then it's okay.
Shin
Try not to do
I
it.
hear the word, I'm just not sure why, if it's a myself.
יש לך הסביר, גם את השח, it's a noilad, אפילו וכדי ששום אורי והמולך ולאדם ולהד המילה אבל לא יסת לחייס אלא בו ניקל חש ולחס ושום שנוחה צף למה וניקל. Okay?
Right, so, and if it was an issue of being nenem from a Ma'aser Shabbos...
He doesn't talk about here, Mr. Bruin never mentioned if you're allowed to use it or not. He's telling what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. He doesn't mention the fact if it's also to use it because of noilad. He says by Shumin, there's no heter to put it into a kais because it's still there. You can still tell it's there. Water, shallot, they crush in a cup. There's a heter. Why? Because when it goes into the cup, you can't tell that it was added. But Shumin, you put it into a cup, fat floats on top, even when it becomes liquefied, so it's still nicker, and if you don't have the heter of Teichak Chos. But it doesn't say that it's also afterwards because of that. That's noilad. It never says that.
Just to understand, no. So noilad means that something that's a new creation. You're not, if you didn't do it, then that's not the prohibition. There may be other isurim. In other words,
over here, noilad, an egg that's born on Shabbos, that's called noilad. It's a new creation.
Yeah.
The shumin that melts.
He said there's a difference in noilad and moilad.
Yes. So
right.
moilad means this is moilad. You are doing it.
Can we review that? The difference?
Yeah. Moilad is that you are doing it. You are creating something.
Like
so you're not allowed to do that. Yeah. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do something. You're not allowed to make from a shumin into a liquid. You're not allowed to make ice into water. You're not allowed to do that. But that isser is not an isser because when you're doing it, now it's a new creation. You're not allowed to use the new creation. It's not the issue. This is, it looks like schitas peis. That's moilad. Noilad is a lotion of something, even though they use the word noilad here also.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they use the word noilad, okay. But the way we're gonna phrase it,
okay.
The noilad, the moilad.
You see the question.
Yeah, but he doesn't. Yeah, but you don't see that it's, the issue is the outcome, the new creation.
Okay.
Noilad is an isser. Noilad is an isser that something became created on Shabbos. That's a new thing that was created on Shabbos is awesome. Ice that became water.
Human being is moilad, and what God's creation is noilad.
Yeah, so it's a new creation is a noilad. So the fact that you are doing it, moilad is an issue. Now ice into water. Ice into water is a machlekes hapaiskim. Is that called a new creation? And it's muktzah. Noilad is an issue muktzah. It wasn't here before Shabbos. On Shabbos, it's a new creation. Ice that turns into water, most of the poskim hold, it's not muktzah. It's not muktzah. It's not a new creation. It's not a new thing. It was ice and now it's water. It's not a new thing. Shuman that became liquid is not a new thing. It's not muktzah. Noilad is a muktzah shayla. Something that wasn't here before and now it's here. It's a muktzah shayla. Moilid that we have over here.
So that's a good nafkamina. In other words, if let's say you have the shuman, you're not allowed to make it, and you did it, right?
It's not muktzah.
So that wouldn't have a din of muktzah.
Yeah,
because
correct.
And that would prove that that's not a
correct.
Correct. Kind of a
correct. It's not muktzah.
People can't use it.
Correct. Right. It's not muktzah. It's not. You may not be able to use it because of Ma'aser Shabbos.
Right.
Now I could be upset. One of the Chachamim say, no, ice that becomes water is also no. Then it's muktzah. And it's muktzah. You're not allowed to use it because it's muktzah. Most poskim don't hold that way. Most poskim don't hold that it's muktzah. And the big pella is, how can you say it's muktzah? It says over here that if you inicham v'chama keneged medura v'nifsheru mutarim. If it's a noilad problem, it's a muktzah problem. Who cares what you did? If ice that becomes water is a new creation and it's muktzah, so what is a mutter? How can it be mutter? You can take the ice, right? And it's nemuach me'elov. What's nemuach me'elov? And then what? So it's nemuach me'elov. And then what happens? Anyway, you can't use it, it's muktzah. You see from all these sifim over here, that we're not dealing with muktzah at all. There's no problem with muktzah. The problem is only doing it. It's a big kasha. Those achronim that hold that ice that becomes water is noilad, it's muktzah. It's a big kasha from this sifim. Because here we see that there's no muktzah. The question is, are you allowed to do it or are you not allowed to do it? But muktzah, it's not, it's mutter.
And they're not, like for example in this last scene, it's not clear, he's saying yesh lizaher. It doesn't say asr, right?
Where, which case?
In Yud Bet, like for the salt, for example.
It doesn't say it's muktzah afterwards, right?
He doesn't say muktzah, but he also, even doing it, he doesn't say don't do it, he says yesh lizaher.
Yeah, because of,
it's
shouldn't rob it, because you're making it, yeah. Yeah, it's not muktzah, yeah, right, it's a muktzah. Be careful the way because of moila, not because of muktzah, yeah. If it's muktzah, if it becomes from salt to a liquid, whatever it is, now it's also touches, it's muktzah on Shabbos. We don't find that it's muktzah. It's a big question. The more you go through this Simon, it becomes up more and more, you see that these type of things are muktzah. Okay, there's an important taz over here in test. You know the b'melach? You know that wash hands and salt the fish in the muach, we have a noilad. He says the lashon noilad, which should be moilad really. The way we're saying, it means you're not allowed to make it. Kei kosev b'tur b'shem balatrumis, v'ayim asher gesafti, Semich Shiur chav dal tzif kat gimel. Umashmei says the mutter lahashlach mayim b'melach.
Melach b'mayim.
Do you have melach b'mayim?
Yeah.
Okay, I have mayim b'melach. Do you have melach b'mayim? What do you have? What do you have? Big difference.
Is it?
Cool. Huge difference. Huge difference. I didn't realize that there's different uses.
Melach b'mayim is you're throwing salt into water. It's.
What do you have like a mayim b'melach? You're allowed to put the mayim onto the salt. So the way you read it, if it says over here the way it says it, mayim b'melach means you're allowed to take water and pour onto the salt. We never saw such a heter before. We saw a heter, you're allowed to take the ice and put it into the water. Because then you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything. You put the ice into the water, you're not doing anything. When you put salt into water,
you melt it.
You're not, but you're not, the water's melting. When you pour water onto salt,
you are melting it. You're
doing an actual mice. Who cares if you're doing it with the water, you're doing it with your hands.
Yeah.
So the way my gear is in the Taz is, you're allowed to put mayim b'melach, it's a big heter. It's a big heter. Put the salt, the water onto the salt, even though you're doing it b'yadayim. Somewhat. The Mishnah Berurah says, the gear in the Mishnah Berurah is, Avamuta lahashlich melach b'mayim. You're allowed to put melach b'mayim. Could they change it in the new ones because of the gear of the Mishnah Berurah? Could be a big nafkamina. Are you allowed to pour water onto any powder? Are you allowed to put water onto coffee? Let's say no problem. Are you allowed to put water onto coffee? Are you allowed to put water onto any powder?
You're changing it.
If you learn like the Mishnah Berurah's Girsa, only melach b'mayim is mutter. You allowed to put salt into the water, like shelag into the water. You're allowed to do. But how about pouring water
on
shelag or pouring water on salt? The mashma you can't. There's a big difference if you're allowed to pour water onto coffee.
Maybe that's just a mistake.
Yeah, maybe that's why they changed it in the Taz. They're kind of big chumrah. You're not allowed to pour your water onto coffee. You have to pour your coffee into the water. I don't see many people being mafra in that. Even the head of the Ramban, that if you do it into a kais, you like to squeeze it into a kais, and I take shell and squeeze it into water. So here you're pouring water onto the coffee. That's the same idea, and right away it's turning into water. don't know if you have the heter. Big difference how you go. Okay. I'm not giving an answer.
But this would be applicable, like if we're salting snow on the driveway, right, as well?
Salting snow, yeah, salting snow is a problem.
Oh, just a
because of this issue.
And also be a dime.
If it was your girsa, but this girsa, it would be Lashlich Melach Umayim, so it's like...
No, Melach b'mayim, water, you have to put water onto the salt into the water, that's good. No, because there the salt is what's melting. Here with the ice. You put salt on the ice, you have to worry about the ice. You're just melting the ice.
No, the salt is getting...
You're right. Yeah. The salt is not a problem, right? But the ice is the problem.
Right.
Yeah. You're right. The salt is not the problem. Salting ice, the salt is that you're pouring the salt into the water. Like it's not a problem. But when you're pouring the ice will be the problem.
So it's a problem to put salt on
The
it.
ice is a terror because of sakana.
Because of sakana.
Yeah, it's dangerous. So that's a different answer. But you're right, pouring salt and ice is like breaking the ice with your hands. In order to make it into you're doing it in order to make it into water. Well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're breaking the ice in order to get to the pavement underneath.
And you don't need the water, what?
You don't need the broken ice, you need the pavement underneath.
Yeah, but you.
That's like breaking the ice to get to the water.
That's chet, is that...
Little Shabbat kerach, you're just breaking it, you're not melting it. Here you're literally melting the kerach. It's like taking it and melting it, pouring salt on it.
Anyway.
But there are other heterim because a lot of other heterim because when you put salt onto ice, it has to be, in order to be a shchita, it has to be something you could use. If it's something you can't use, if the water is not usable anyway, it's no chash or schita. Okay, weiter. Deine Shelley Buragel by the Chesed, you walk on snow, and you don't have to worry about that you're melting it, you're being moilad. The same thing, Yudalad Harami Rothenberg, Matala Hatel Meraglayim B'Sheleg, even though you're melting it, Rosh Hayaniza, the Rosh was careful with it. And here's a big shout what the reason is. The Magen Avram says, Hayaniza K'alideh Shetan Vada Nimuach. Through the Shetan, through pouring the Meraglayim on the Sheleg, it's for sure going to be Nimuach. And therefore, the Rosh was Nizar not to do it. Pashenken and Seif, he was Gimel by Sheleg, Achari speak out, it's not for sure that the snow is going to melt when you step on it. Therefore, it's more of a kula. Another kula they give over here is because it's Ef Shebin Yanachar by Meraglayim. Therefore, it's mutter to do it on Shabbos. Okay, Tezvav. Also, lifra suda al pechavis, and now spread out handkerchief al pechavis, and litin al gaba al kli, and to put a kli on top of it. Shedoilim boy, that you draw the water with it. Shema yavli de schita, you may under coming of de schita. Meaning, if the suda gets wet, you may end up coming to use it to squeeze it out. Of a beggar that also refers alav mutish and a chesh alav v'seichtoi, a beggar that's usually used for this purpose, you don't have to worry about they're going to go squeeze it out, but it's meant to stay there, and even though it gets wet, it doesn't bother you. So you have a heter over here, a kli that's meant to be used for a certain thing, there's no chash that maybe you can squeeze it out. But if you're using a beggar that's not meant for this, then it'll always chayshish, you're going to come squeeze it out to use the beggar for its regular usage, and therefore it's also to do it on Shabbos. Tezayin also lahadak muchin b'pipach sheyesh by mashkin mishum schita. You know, squeeze in. Muchin is like cotton or any type of cloth into a jug that has water in it, mishum schita, because it'll end up squeezing out the water. Yud Zayin, Sfoig, a sponge, a mekanchem boy, you're not going to use it to clean. Ela imken yesh by beis achiza, unless it has a thing that you could hold with it. We'll see what that means in a second. You may end up squeezing it out. Now we have here a case of a svoig, a sponge without a handle, and a sponge with a handle. A sponge without a handle, the Gemara is mashru. We'll see the Magen Avraham as a kashan. There's also that a sponge without a handle, you're not allowed to use it. It's not a zera. It's chita. In itself, it's chita. You squeeze it out. If it has a handle, so the silent there it's mutter, and the question is why. Pashas, if it has a handle, it's not for sure that you're going to do schita with it.
It's a suffix.
It's a suffix schita. So let's see the Magen Avraham here. Gzeir shem yischai tzarich iyin. They keep in the sfoig also l'kach. Since the sponge is meant for that, lamali the migzah shem yischai. What's a gzeir shem yischai? It's meant to use it for that. And then it says even more. V'oi tema the Gemara parach hasvoig v'chamal kem shem medavar shem yischav v'moter mashani p'sikreishu. Imkein ein hatam shem gzeir v'tzarich iyin. Says the Magen Avraham, if there's no chash, if it's not a psik ratio that you're going to squeeze it out, so you don't have to make a gzeir shem yischad. I said before, something that's used for a certain purpose, there's no chash that you're going to squeeze it out. So a svoig is used to wipe up things. So there's no chash, you're going to squeeze it out. And then says the Magen Avraham, even more than that, the Gemara says that a svoig, if you're using it to wipe something up, it's a psik ratio that you're going to squeeze it out. So it's not a gzeir shem yischad. And therefore the Magen Avraham doesn't understand the mechaber. The Mishabura also brings it down, and they say avada or svoig is not a gzeir shem yischad. It's an issur of schita. You're definitely going to squeeze it out. So using a sponge is a problem because it is schita. But if it has a beis achiza, says the Magen Avraham, but Rambam Rashi Kasser the Kshesh Beis Achiza, Oz Efsher Beloy Schita. Then it's possible to do it without Schita, and therefore it is not a psik ratio, and it is mutter. We don't have that today. All our sponges is a definite Schita. Anytime you use a sponge on Shabbos, there's no shadow. It's not a Gzeir Shem Yischad, it's a Vada Schita, even if it has a handle. I'm not sure a sponge with a handle how it works exactly. But usually you press down on the sponge.
Yeah,
I don't
understand how the case of the mechaber is. Like,
it could be the sponge over there was meant.
Of it, you have like a little knob on it, and you have a sponge. I mean, you're going to do it. It's a psik ratio. Like, that's the whole purpose of a sponge.
No. So the word is, I think the sponge was. No, it wasn't a cleaning. It was the sponge was to absorb a spill. You're looking at a sponge as to wash. Yeah, a sponge to wash dishes is definitely it's chita gemura. It's chita gemura.
Sponge, dry, and then you want to clean up the spill.
Right. Right. So there may be okay. Yeah.
But that's how we do it with a
It's like taking a very thick towel. And no issue sucking up a spill with a very thick towel.
Right.
You're not going to squeeze it out.
Correct. That's fine.
But you always leave one side, like even when you I mean, that's how you do it. So you're effectively making a beis achiza.
That's a beis achiza. Yeah. Okay.
Right? You're
leave one side dry.
You're keeping one side from touching the liquid.
That should be fine. That should be fine.
That's the beis achiza.
Yeah.
So you're using it for the purpose of soaking in.
But the Rav has an interesting head here. It's not possible to clean up a spill without squeezing out. But you have So the Rav is a big heter. It's a big chiddush. The Rav says when it has a beis achiza, it's like pouring into a cup and emptying it from a cup. It's not called schita. It's a chiddush of the Rav. The Rav says that if you have something with a beis achiza on it, so basically what you're doing is you're taking the spill, like in a cup, and then you're pouring it out. You're right, it's absorbed in the sponge, and then you're emptying it from the sponge. But that emptying it from the sponge is not called schita. Schita is when you have a vegetable, you have a fruit, you have something, you have a baguette that has water in it, squeezing out the water. To gather up the water, to pour it out, even though it's a yedei sponge, the Rav is makel. A big chiddush of the Rav.
So a mop, for example, that's kind of made like a sponge with a big handle.
Yeah.
Could that be what they're talking about?
Yeah, but without the Ravid, so according to the Ravid, it's mutter. But according to us, it's definitely, if it's going to map, you map something up, you can squeeze it out after how you get it.
Well, you won't, I mean, assuming
You do it once.
You're
You
just
do it
doing,
one
just
tweak.
doing it to
Yeah.
absorb.
So that's not that we have to. Without the Ravid, you can do it only once. With the Ravid, you keep it empty and do it again. Because the emptying is not called schita. That's the Ravid's heter. That's why we don't go with the Ravid. By Seif Yud Ches, Chavish and Pakaku B'Pekak Shal Pishtan. If you have a barrel that has in it a pekak, a stopper of Pishtan, Listan Nekev Shebedoifna Shemaitzin Boyayayin, that closes up the hole in the side of the Chavish so the wine comes out. Yesh Mi Shemata La'asiroi. Some people are not to take it out. Afa Pisha Iyav Sheshala Yischait. Even though it's impossible that you're not going to squeeze out some wine when you pull it out. For who Tachtav Kli, there shouldn't be a Kli under it. The Kimish and an animal Schita, since you're not gaining anything from the Schita, Schita Zu, therefore have a Psikresha Deloi, Nicha Lei, Umutter. This is the famous heter of Psikresha Deloi, Nicha Lei, even though for sure the wine is going to come out of the sponge, of the
So
swag.
what's the purpose of,
The stopper?
of something? No, put the kli underneath.
But if you put the kli under it and you're saving the wine, you want the wine. So that's nichalei. There's no kli under it, so when you're pulling it out, even though you're vaday, you're going to squeeze it out, it's mutter. Why? Because that wine that you're squeezing out is going to the ibud. You're not using it for anything, so it's a psikration, the loy nichalei. It's a psikration that you don't want. You don't want it, you'd rather have the wine. The wine's going to the garbage. But if there's a kli under it, then already it's a psikresha d'nichalei. Chalko olav and chalkim v'amru d'afagav d'loi nichalei, even the psikresha who aser. Since it's a psikresha, even though it's loi nichalei, it's definitely a schita and it's aser. V'oidam nahagim heter, v'davar. The world then, those days, was nahagim heter. V'yesh alamed aleim schus. If you remember them as chus, the kivish barza arucha. It's a long barza. The stopper is long as a handle. Chutz l'neires. Besides the neires is the iris of pishtin, the pieces of pishtin of linen. Ve'ein yad magas l'neires. Mutter midi dehavi asvoig. The matter just like a svoig, with the ravid was matter by a svoig. Even though for sure you're squeezing out. This heter is the Ravid's heter of Svoy. Sheesh la beis achizim. Well, the fish ain't tiny zu chazaka, because we don't really hold the Ravid. Yesh la gam boy, toiv lan higam shelo yekli tachas achavit v'shas shapaki kimanekev. Make sure that there is no kli under it. Now, if there's no kli under it, we go back to a psikresha d'lai. We just said that psikresha d'lai nichalei is awesome. So what's the Mechaber saying? That Toiv Lan Higam, they could do it, but there shouldn't be a kli under it. So here the Magen Avraham speaks out in Chav Gimel, Shalayiyah kli afilman amet psikresha d'lai nichalei awesome mekamakam hacha shari. He'll be mutter. Mishum Seichid Mashkin told the Dashi, ve'ene aser elikish Mashkin ayetin ein halchem leibud. So here you have a heter of the Magen Avraham. It's interesting because the Mechaber says before, this Seif in the beginning, that if you hope psikresha l'nichalei is aser, so it's aser to go ahead and squeeze out, to pull out the pishtan from the barrel, because the psikresha l'nichalei is aser. So Magen Avraham is saying now that if it goes to the ground, doesn't go into a kli, it's mutter, because it's not shchita at all. Because shchita is only when you're saving the juice. If you're not saving it, it's not shchita b'chlal. So it's much from the Magen Avraham that he learned that the first shita that argues that psikresha l'nichalei is aser had another chumrah also. That even though it's not really a shchita, it's still aser. And we don't go with the second chumrah. We only go with the first chumrah that psikresha l'nichalei is aser. But the second chumrah that even by shchita over here will be aser, then already is much from the Magen Avraham we don't go with. So So this is the famous Seif of P'sukreisha D'Lo Nichalei. And Lamaisa, we're always machmir. Anytime you have a P'sukreisha D'Lo Nichalei, since it's a P'sukreisha, we ask it. Unless, because of that, it's not really a malacha like Schita. The Magen Avraham that we started before finishes and he says, which is what? Which is Yenesh Shita in the Mechaber that says that even though it's Schita, it goes Leibud, still it's Asam B'Derabanan. Hasechet Hasar Or Pater Aval Aser. Someone squeezes out here, or which is leather, Pater Aval Aser, Ayin Semich Shiur, Seif Aleph, Ayin Semich Shiur, Kavav Seif Ches. All these things are Aser. So squeezing out here on Shabbos is Aser, Mashma only Aser B'Derabanan. And the reason for that is because Sar is not really called absorbed in here. Word doesn't really absorb in here, therefore it's not called Schita Midaraisa, it's only called a Schita Midirabanan, but still it is Asr. Now the Magen Avraham and Seif Karan Chaf, and I can go through the whole thing here, has a whole shaila. If this P'sukreisha D'Lo Nichalei is mutter, the shittis that hold, which is the aruch, that hold the P'sukreisha D'Lo Nichalei is mutter, is it only a din in Shabbos, or is it a din in Chol HaTorah Kula? Magen Avraham brings down a shitta that holds that it's only a din in Shabbos, because Shabbos you need malachas machshavas. All other malachas, all other isurim, we don't need malachas machshavas, so there won't be, there will not be a heter of P'sukreisha D'Lo Nichalei. Even though it's D'Lo Nichalei, it's still a P'sukreisha and it is Asa. He wants to give a shiur to explain what's the machlokes of P'sukreisha D'Lo Nichalei, if it's mutter or not. Saying a P'sukreisha, you're doing it. P'sukreisha, who cares if it's D'Lo Nichalei? If you're going to do a malach on Shabbos, right? And D'Lo Nichalei, you're allowed to do it on Shabbos? What does P'sukreisha mean? P'sukreisha means it's for sure going to happen.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to happen. So let's say you want to cook something on Shabbos, but you're doing it. You don't need it, or you don't want it. You're allowed to cook on Shabbos? You're not allowed to cook on Shabbos. So why by P'sukreisha is the head of Lo Nichalei? It's the big kasha.
So that you don't want the direct outcome.
Meaning?
You shake the chicken for it as a toy, not to kill the chicken.
Yeah, so why so why is it mutter? It's a shchita.
Doesn't it all rest on malachas machshavas? Because you have to have in mind to do what you...
So malachas machshavas is beheaded for all malachas on Shabbos that you don't want the outcome. It's mutter to do it. No. You can't say that. You can't do all malachas on Shabbos. That let's say the chicken aside. Chicken, because it's a whole because they call it P'sukreisha V'Layamas. That's the case, the famous case of P'sukreisha. But
so you walk past one of these automatic lights and it goes on.
You go back to automatic light and it goes on. It's like Nichalei. But let's say it's called turning on the light, right? It's mutter to do it on Shabbos.
You're not come for it at all. You want to walk. You're walking.
Okay, so that's something else. Something else. So the hakdama for P'sukreisha is that it's Einim Eschaven. You have to remember that. The hakdama for P'sukreisha is that it's Einim Eschaven. You're not mechaven to do the malacha. If you're mechaven to do the malacha, there's no heter D'Lo Nichalei. P'sukreisha means I'm not mechaven to do the malacha. So I'm doing malacha A, and malacha B is happening. I'm walking, and the light goes on. That's called Einim Eschaven. I'm mechaven to turn on the light. So that's the first thing is it has to be Einim Eschaven. Once you're doing the malacha, you don't say D'Lo Nichalei is a heter. P'sukreisha says, even though Einim Eschaven is mutter, if you're not mechaven to do the malacha, it's mutter to do it. If I'm doing malacha A and malacha B happens, I'm not mechaven, I'm schlepping a bench. I'm not sure if it's going to make a charetz or not. and it ends up making charitz, it's mutter. Why? Because ain't a mischaven. I don't have a mind to do it. It's not for sure going to happen either. So therefore, it's mutter. That's only because you're ain't a mischaven. But once you're mischaven to do something, I say I'm mischaven. I want to try and make a charitz, but I'm not sure the charitz is going to happen. I'm not sure I'll make one. Can you do it on Shabbos? No matter. I'm going to try to do something on Shabbos. I'm not sure it's going to happen or not. Could you do it? Of course you can't do it. It's not for sure it's going to happen. It doesn't make a difference. You're mechaven to do it. The only heter of not sure it's going to happen or not is by your einim mischaven. If you're doing A and B is happening, you're einim mischaven for B, you have a heter of einim mischaven. Now, with a psik ratio, even though you're einim mischaven, it's aser. Even though you're einim mischaven. Why? So there's a machlokes. Why? Either because you consider them mischaven, it's as if you wanted to do it, or it's because you can't split up the two mices. It's not said I'm doing A and B is happening. It's one big A. It's one big mice that's happening. So here is how they explain the machlokes of a psikresh lanichale. If you're going to say it's because you become a mischaven to do it, if I don't want it, you can't call me a mischaven. So lanichale, I'm not interested in it happening, you can't call me mischaven. That's only because I'm doing one thing and B is happening. So then you could say, psikresh says I'm a mechaven for it. No, I'm not a mechaven for it. Because lanichale. But if you're going to say it's all one meiser A, and you can't split it, then lanichale is not going to help. Lanichale is not a heter to go do something on Shabbos if you're doing it. That's the part you have to remember. It's not pshat that lanichale is a heter to do a malach chas v'shalom. No, lanichale is only a heter for einim mischaven. That we say a psik ratio is mutter is aser by einim mischaven. Then if it's lanichale, it's still mutter. So you have to remember.
So those are the two sort of
differences.
No, not differences, but the two requirements, right? One is Einam Miskaven plus Lo Nichale.
Right.
If those two are in place, then it could
be heter. Right. Because the Einam Miskaven, then a psik ratio by Einam Miskaven is aser. I'll take care of the chasarn of psik ratio through Lo Nichale. So we have to start to be Einam Miskaven, and it's mutter. You tell me Einam Miskaven is aser because of psik ratio. That issue, if it's Lo Nichale, doesn't fall in place, and you stay at Einam Miskaven, and therefore it's mutter. But if you're mechaber to do it, there's no heter of Lo Nichale.
So we're saying that by by having a psik ratio, it automatically means that you have kavanah?
That's the machlokes. What's pshat of psik ratio? One of the tzadim is
how do you? I mean,
it's called mechaven. It's called mechaven for it.
So because it's a psik ratio means that you do have. I really don't care. I really want to take this bench across. It weighs 500 pounds. It's for sure going to create a cross, right? But I really don't want it. All I want is move the bench because I have company. So we're saying that the psik ratio, if I understand it, makes that now your kavanah.
Correct.
That's the way.
That's one way.
That's one way to look at it.
One way. That's a lenient way of looking at it.
Correct. The other way is that you can't split up the
now you can't split it up. You are making it.
In other words,
it's like I'm turning on the light. I don't want the light to go on.
Right.
It's impossible. You're turning on the light.
Right.
If that's the case, you can never split it.
Right.
Even if it's lanichale, you can never split it.
Right. But even the first way you can. So it comes out that both.
No, the first way it's still A and B.
I understand.
But it's Einam Miskaven.
Correct.
But
your ratio makes it that you have
Miskaven.
So you're back to so these are two ways to understand psik ratio, not like the Aruch.
No, but it's two ways to have psik ratio, and the Aruch holds like one way. He holds
with the Aruch.
It's called a Miskaven. But if it's Lo Nichale, you cannot call me a Miskaven to do that.
Oh, in that, in one, there's the machlokes.
Right, correct. The Aruch holds,
you can or cannot.
Correct. The Aruch holds that it's called a Miskaven. But if I Lo Nichale, if I don't want it to happen, you can't call me a Miskaven for it. It's still considered A and B. Still considered A and B. Okay. Seif Yutes. Litin karko and betavshul. Karko is a type of spice.
Turmeric.
What?
Turmeric.
Turmeric?
Yeah.
That's what it's cumin, no?
Saffron.
No.
I don't know.
Karkum.
Saffron, okay, whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Karkum is
It's not the
turmeric.
translation.
Litten karka betafshel, mutter, you're allowed to put it into a tafshel, but in lochash le mishum tzeveya, you ain't severe boichlin. You have to worry about tzeveya, ain't severe boichlin, which we had this before. You're allowed to put something into food, even though it's changing the color, ain't severe boichlin. But here, Pashtus, we go with this to Asa Machmirim of Tzviya Ba'oichlin when you're doing it for the color. Here in Sifya Test, you're not doing it for the color.
Taste.
Yeah, doing it for taste. But it happens to be it's changing the color.
Yeah.
Therefore it's mutter. It's something also that a machmir that if you're doing it b'dafka for the color, then maybe it is an issa even by oichel issa midrabanan. That food coloring they're doing just for the color, also machmir. Okay, Seif Chaf. Yes, tutim. If you eat tutim as berries, shar peris at tzavum that are colorful. Shouldn't use your hands that are dirty. But Godov, by B'mapa, B'shum Tzeveya, because you're being a Tzeveya, you are coloring the beged. Avlam Tzeveya, Pittoi B'mashke, Hapeiros, but if you're coloring your bread with the color of the food, less than bar the Ein Tzvi B'oichlin. Same thing, Ein Tzvi B'oichlin. But the Mechaber starts off with the Chumrah. You're not allowed to touch clothing with the dirty hands. Why? Because of Tzviya. So look in the Magen Avraham Sivkot Chavdalet Tzarech Lezarav Radvasim Kuflam and Alav Kosav Shachumri Yitzeruhu Kivin Shehu Derech Lichloch. Since it's derech, you're not doing it to be Tzviya. You have a white shirt and you get some avocado stain on it. It's the worst thing that can happen to you. You can't get it out. Or cherry stain. So you can say it's a tzeveya. How can you call this a tzeveya? The Dvar says it can't be called this a tzeveya, but it's lichluch. You're making it dirty. If you're there, so kibbutz derech lichluch koshkan tzeveya, tchol tzeveya hu kach lachein ein lahokil. The Magen Avraham comes out l'maisa that you cannot be making. Now the question is, what's happened today? For all our napkins and stuff, you're allowed to do it. So the Maisa, a napkin, they say, is no din Tzviya. A napkin, if he's going into the garbage, it's not called Tzviya. You're not Tzviya a napkin. You say we get colorful napkins already, it's done. Now, you never be Tzviya a napkin. Once a napkin comes to you, if you have to be used and thrown into the garbage.
Yeah,
so you don't have to worry about disposable napkins that you're going to use your hands, dirty hands, and wipe it on a disposable napkin. You don't have to worry about it.
Washable napkins, yeah?
What?
The washable napkins.
The washable one, some say you should be machmer because of this thing.
So maybe you shouldn't use those on Shabbos?
You should use them on Shabbos. The Master Shmuel says, if should be macher, it's mutter.
I guess the same would apply if you're wearing an apron.
Apron, same thing.
Right.
Yeah, so probably wearing an apron, yeah.
Throw away.
The Magen Avraham Sivkot Chavhei, Shleiga, you shouldn't touch the clothing. V'afagav, it's a very pun of yodov. Even though when you're eating, you get your hands and your face dirty from it. Let's talk about kids maybe. Like the mechash, the ain't tzviya b'davish adakal and tzvaya, something usually tzvaya. But the Seif Simon Shin Gimel Seif Chafei, the isha darka b'kach. A woman can't be tzvaya her face. Makeup on Shabbos is also because it's darker b'kach. It's like the mashma shenelmo mimenu. Something else. So the Magen Avraham says over here that even though there is tzviya on the face, you know, put makeup on the face on Shabbos, but so it's not darker l'tzvaya. You don't do it with fruits and vegetables. You don't do it with tutim. That since it's not darker l'tzvaya b'kach, therefore it is mutter. And there's another head that some place can bring today. That today it's not darker l'tzvaya with tutim.
Yeah.
It's not the way you tzveya anything.
On the contrary.
And that's where there's some person say you may have had it today, though it's a tzviya even on cloth napkins because it's not the way we do tzviya today. Okay? Yes, machmirim. Yes, makilim.
Are there any headers for makeup for a woman?
What is makeup for?
No hat.
We have a sphere.
What if it's made from tutu? Makeup.
So it depends. So they speak about it.
Huh?
The person says, it's not meant to be tzivaya your face, but ladies are tzivaya their face. So how could they eat tutu? How could they eat tutu? They do paint their faces. So how could they eat tutu? So the person give a head to it. They say tutu is not darker b'kach. It's not the way they paint their face. It's not the way they put on makeup. But if they're doing it for makeup, the chayr is not to do it on Shabbos. That's in Semich Shiur in Semich Shin Gimel. But